Tonight, the Fox 9 investigators bring you a first-of-its-kind demonstration.
It's so dramatic that it's already changing the way Minnesota families drive. Here's Fox 9 investigator Trish Van Pilsen.
Experts figure airbags have saved 10,000 lives in this country, but they're for grown-ups. The Fox 9 investigators discovered many parents and some grandparents let children ride in the front seat long before they should. We begin tonight with a young mother who learned that in less time than it takes to blink an eye, an airbag can blow a life apart. She's determined it not happen to you.
911.
Rush hour, December 3rd. A nothing fender bender turns a 6-year-old preschool graduate with a tiny cap and gown and a great big smile into a boy so still and so beautiful, he seems a work of art.
Hey, sweetie. Sleepy.
But he is real.
His personality is back. And that's, more than anything, that definitely one thing I'm very blessed to have.
His body will not be the same. A machine, quiet as a whisper, breathes for him.
I hope every day I won't give up.
He can't move his arms or legs. He is relearning to speak. His mother speaks, quiet as a whisper, but with conviction.
Keep your kids in the back seat. Definitely. Keep them in car seats. No matter how much they fuss.
Keelavante Riley was on his way to family night at church, riding with another family member, not his mom.
Riding with me, he knew. Don't even ask. It wasn't an option.
He was in the front seat when the car rear-ended another. Little damage on the outside, just enough force to set off the airbag and do unfathomable damage on the inside.
Some of the small things you take for granted, having a hug. Watching your kid ride his bike or play Nintendo or, do the things that he loves to do.
He'd still be doing those things if he'd been in the back seat. It's not as though we all haven't been warned to keep kids out of the front seat.
I see it every day.
Start watching for it. Fox 9 investigators did. In a few minutes, we'll show you just how often we saw it. No one needs to show Desiree.
You see it all the time. Kids in the front seat. Mothers with infants in their arms in the front seat. And it just sickens my stomach sometimes knowing what can happen. You can rest. I won't bug you.
If the message about kids and airbags hasn't been convincing enough, that's about to change. For these families, and for you.
When Fox 9 News continues, think your kid is big enough to sit in the front seat?
That could really be one of my kids.
It's an airbag test that no one has ever shown you. Before you give in and let your kids up front, you need to watch this. It's coming up right after the break. You're watching Fox 9 News.
They fuss, they plead, they think they're old enough to sit in the front seat.
They say all their friends are. Before you give in to your child, you better watch this report, and you might want to have them watch it too. Once again, here's Fox 9 investigator Trish Van Pilsen.
I call front seat out of my chair.
Constant competition between brother and sister, they call shotgun.
Riding shotgun. Put a kid in front of an airbag, and the phrase becomes more apt than you'd ever imagine.
It sounded like a gun.
For a child, it can be as deadly. It was for 11-year-old Brian Holtquist, killed 5.5 years ago in Lakeville. It would have been a minor crash if he hadn't been sitting in the front seat with a passenger side airbag.
We've been telling people for over 12 years, you don't put kids in the front seat of a motor vehicle.
For some reason, some of them aren't getting it.
It was just a short trip.
Just this one time. That's all it takes.
A short trip, a special treat.
And that he should be in the back seat. But it's more fun to talk to him in the front seat.
An 8-year-old who wears a helmet ice skating
rides at risk with a mom who knows better.
I keep meaning to change our habits and haven't done it yet.
Why do I give in? Because it's easier. It's easier to give in than to fight.
Christy Moore routinely lets her 8-year-old daughter, Corinza, ride in front.
Damn, I just want to run up to their window and say, hey, hello. You know, get that kid in a car seat or get that child in the back seat.
I just hope I don't get in a wreck.
Hope just doesn't cut it.
This can happen to anybody.
Hi, I'm Dave. You can call me the airbag detective. Okay?
Dave Long
Airbags will save an adult or teenager's life.
Is a passionate and high-energy
Boom! What would happen in a crash?
airbag expert.
The closer you are to the airbag, the greater the chance of injury or a fatality.
He's agreed to show a couple of our parents and their front seat riding kids what an airbag can do to a child.
We're going to paint the face of the dummy here to show where the impact points are. The paint's actually going to show us where the dummy's head's going to be hit.
We staged this demonstration at AAA Auto Salvage, which provides a van and a car. The mannequins are leaning forward. It's how your child would be if thrown forward in a crash.
The cases that we've seen the children killed here in the United States, they have been not buckled or misbuckled.
It's also where your child would be if she leans forward to change radio stations or pick something up.
Yeah, as far as we know, the test we're showing today for the out-of-position occupant has never really been shown to the public.
The kids and their parents will get a close look. Remember Corinza and her mom? They're here. Also watching, a nurse who specializes in injury prevention and a state trooper who's been to plenty of accidents where airbags have gone off but has never seen this.
It's going to sound like somebody fired a shotgun in here. We're going to have everybody stand actually over on the other side as we get ready to count down.
It happens fast. In 1 second, 200 miles per hour, faster than the fastest shotgun pellet.
You can see the dummy's head, the child's head actually contacted the front of the airbag here. Here's the paint. And probably a severe injury would occur to the head and or the neck.
Now, watch this.
3, 2, 1.
The force of the airbag takes off the mannequin's head, which flies backward and takes out one of our cameras.
His head fell off. Don't sit in the front seat anymore. Scared, sad.
Sadness, reality that it could have been one of mine because they've all ridden in the front.
And what would this mean to a real child?
Her neck gets lifted up off of here.
The force of the airbag can actually sever the nerves and ligaments connecting the brain and the spine.
You know, out of the whole part of your body, your brain and your spinal cord are the two parts that we haven't been able to figure out how to fix yet.
A child who has a spinal cord injury at a high level near the base of the skull may lose their ability to breathe independently, which means they need to depend on a machine to breathe for them for the rest of their life. They may be paralyzed completely for their arms and their legs and all of their body below that level of injury.
Doctors at Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare, a rehabilitation hospital, have treated at least 4 or 5 kids with airbag injuries in just the last 6 months or so.
If we can get the message out that people need to put the child in the back seat, because for them it's the best seat in the house. It's the safest seat for them to be in.
To get the message out to more people, we take an airbag simulator and a videotape of our mannequin demonstration to a rec center in Chanhassen. We show the tape to a group of moms, including one whose 12-year-old rides in the front seat.
It was amazing. I had no idea that's what really happened.
2 airbags.
Next, Dave Long sets off the airbag simulator.
It sounded like a gun. It felt standing over here like you were hit by a gun.
It's the kind of in-your-face exhibit that convinces.
That does change my mind. I'll be more aware, and they will be riding in the back seat.
And changes lives.
She has a friend that rides in the front a lot, and that she's going to let them know that it comes out really hard, aren't you? Yeah, we didn't know it came out so fast.
Even teens leaning forward could be in trouble. Safety experts insist no one under the age of 13 should be in the front seat, but you can't really make that decision on age alone.
It's like buying shoes. You choose them for your kids based on their size, not on their age.
To be in the front, a child should be big enough to sit with his back against the seat, bend his knees at the front, and touch the floor with his feet. He should be big enough that the lap belt rides low on his hips and the shoulder belt across his shoulder. And he should be mature enough to stay back in his seat and not squirm or lean forward into the path of the airbag. Whether your car has a passenger side airbag or not, the back seat is always safer for kids of any size.
Everybody sits in the back, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
And they should wear both a lap seat belt and shoulder harness. If the shoulder harness doesn't fit, buy a booster. Never let a child slide the shoulder belt behind them.
Seat belts are sized for adults. Putting your kid in an adult seat belt without a booster is like dressing them in your clothes.
Remember Corinza? The back seats where she's been since she watched the Fox 9 Investigators demo. She asked her mom for a booster seat that day, too.
Now, this is a passenger side airbag. It's bigger and faster and comes out with much more force than the driver's side airbag, and that's because it's set back further and it has to work just as fast. Now, even if you have a car that lets you turn off the airbag, a child is still safer in the back seat, especially if they really don't fit in a seatbelt very well.
We heard you say 13 is the age that could probably be the cutoff there, but even when you're talking a 13-year-old, you could have one 13-year-old who's 80 pounds, another one who's over 100.
Well, in the demonstration we did, we had an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old who were essentially the same size. And so you really can't go by age. You need to go by size. And the key thing is that maturity. Can you trust them to stay back in their seat where they're supposed to be and stay out of the path of the airbag?
You know, there's always going to be somebody out there who thinks that we're just trying to scare everybody. But I'd rather be scared straight and know than to do some of the things that we saw.
One of the people we talked with for this story said sometimes you just have to scare them.
Yeah. Open a lot of eyes with this one again.
Great story, Trish.
Thanks.